So they called you innocent, didn't they? The quiet one, the soft one, the one who would never. They looked at your calm eyes and thought they saw purity. But what they really saw was a weapon still in its sheath. You never corrected them. You smiled, nodded, played along with the fairy tale they wrote about you. Because you knew something they didn't. Innocence isn't the absence of darkness. It's the refusal to use it until it's necessary. And oh, how necessary it became. They laughed at your silence, mistook your patience for peace. They called your restraint weakness. They didn't know you were gathering data, memorizing patterns, analyzing how every mask slips when comfort is taken away. You weren't naive. You were observing. You weren't slow. You were calculating every insult, every betrayal, every mockery. They didn't break you. They programmed you. Because what they never realized is that pain is a divine education. And you graduated with perfect precision. Now look at you. Eyes like glass, heart like steel, smile like a confession no one can prove. They used to call you the kind one. Now they can't even say your name without their throat tightening. They don't know what version of you walks in now. The saint they once mocked, or the god who learned to move in silence. See, that's the thing about evolution through agony. You don't grow wings, you grow focus. You don't become holy, you become untouchable. And when the quiet one finally moves, the whole system trembles. You don't shout, you don't warn, you execute. Every step you take now is a sentence, every glance a judgment, every smile a prophecy fulfilled. You used to chase approval. Now you study reactions. You used to pray for peace. Now you understand war, not as chaos, but as surgical balance. You don't fight for revenge anymore. You embody it. You are the correction. You are the unfinished business that the universe sent back to remind them. Karma doesn't always wear robes. Sometimes it wears your face. And here's the paradox that keeps them awake at night. You didn't change. You simply stopped holding back. The innocence they once admired was never weakness. It was containment. Now containment has broken. Now the light they thought they owned has learned how to strike back. You're not angry anymore, are you? You're awake. You've seen too much, lost too much, felt too much to ever be soft again. Your empathy didn't die. It just got sharper. Your love didn't vanish. It learned how to burn instead of beg. You didn't become the villain. You simply stopped dying in other people's stories. So let them call you cold. Let them whisper that something's wrong with you. Because the truth is, you finally learned how to be dangerous without being cruel. And that's what terrifies them. They don't fear your anger. They fear your control. They fear that you've mastered the art of calm annihilation. They used to think you were the lamb. Now they see the wolf wearing silk. Now they hear your footsteps like a countdown. Now they realize the silence they mocked was just the sound of God loading his next move. So when they ask, "What happened to you?" you look them dead in the eye and say, "I stopped being what made you comfortable." Because innocence never dies. It evolves. And in its evolution, it learns that forgiveness without memory is just submission. You remember everything. You forgive nothing. And that's why they'll never recover from you. You looked innocent. You moved like a god. And for the first time in their lives, they understood what divine revenge looks like when it finally opens its eyes. Slow breath, smirk, whisper. You were never soft. You were silent. And silence was always the most dangerous sound in the world. You remember the day it snapped, don't you? The moment when something inside you stopped asking why me and started whispering, "Watch me." That was the death of your old self, wasn't it? And in that death, something divine was born. Because innocence isn't just purity, it's potential that hasn't been provoked yet. And when provoked, it becomes prophecy. They used to underestimate you like it was a sport. They studied your kindness and called it weakness. They saw your forgiveness and called it fear. They saw your silence and mistook it for emptiness. They didn't know silence was your laboratory. They didn't know you were building a monster behind that calm expression. You were always listening, always watching. Every betrayal, every smirk, every fake apology. They were handing you blueprints. You didn't react, you recorded. You didn't fight back, you calibrated. You weren't losing, you were loading. And now, that quiet, underestimated, overkind version of you walks back into the room like a loaded weapon dressed in grace. You've changed the definition of power. Because real power doesn't roar. It calculates. It doesn't seek validation. It demonstrates. It doesn't rush. It waits. The same patience that once made them mock you is now the reason they fear your next move. You don't chase anymore. You attract. You don't beg anymore. You command. You don't explain anymore. You execute. They see your face and whisper that something's different. They can't name it, but they feel it. It's the tension before the lightning strikes. It's the silence before the verdict. They sense the divinity behind your calm, the danger behind your smile, the discipline behind your mercy. They don't realize you found balance in your extremes. You're no longer the saint or the sinner. You're both. You became the equation no one can solve, the paradox they can't categorize. An angel who learned how to fight, a demon who remembers how to love, a God who still bleeds, but only when he chooses to. You move differently now. Every gesture carries a ghost of your past. Every word you speak is laced with lessons written in pain. You don't need to scream. You've become a frequency. Only the awakened can feel you. The rest just sense danger, and they call it vibe. You became a mirror that reflects truth back at people who spent their lives avoiding it. They look at you and see the proof of everything they buried, that gentle doesn't mean weak, that forgiveness isn't infinite, that love, when betrayed, becomes strategy, and that's what terrifies them most. You became the very storm they prayed would never come. But you didn't destroy everything. You refined it. You burned what was false and forged what was real. You turned every scar into scriptural ink, and every betrayal into ammunition. Now they whisper your name with a strange mixture of guilt and awe. Because they know that the one they tried to crucify is walking again, this time without the cross. They thought they were playing chess, but you were the board, the player, and the final move. You let them think they were winning because they were never part of the plan. They were the lesson. Every time they underestimated you, you smiled. Every time they mocked your calm, you learned. Every time they broke you, you multiplied. Until now, there's no version of you left that can be hurt. Only versions that can end things quietly. You no longer live for revenge. You live for revelation, because revenge is personal, but revelation is cosmic. It's the moment the universe turns the lights on, and everyone finally sees who was who. And when that light hits, they won't see the innocent one anymore. They'll see the architect of divine consequence, the hand that doesn't tremble, the mind that doesn't forget, the smile that says, "I warned you," but you laughed. You are no longer here to prove your worth. You are the proof. You are no longer chasing closure. You are the closed door they can't reopen. You are no longer trying to be understood. You have become misunderstanding's punishment. You walk through crowds like myth wearing flesh. Some call you cold, others call you dangerous. But the truth is, you're simply finished pretending. So when they whisper your name now, when they say, "What happened to you?" tell them this: I finally met myself, and I liked what I saw. Because the one they called innocent was always the one with the cleanest aim. The one they mocked for being soft was simply the one with the deepest control. And the one they tried to bury was the seed. You rose not to be loved, but to be understood by no one and feared by all. You are the equation that broke their systems, the prayer that came back, rewritten as a warning, the face of peace that now carries divine retaliation in its eyes. You didn't become a god through pride. You became one through pain. And when gods move, the world adjusts its breath. Whisper. They called you innocent, but they forgot. Even angels were once soldiers. You notice it now, don't you? The shift in the air when you enter a room, the way conversations fall apart mid-sentence, the way eyes flicker between respect and fear. They used to look at you and see safety. Now they look at you and see reflection. And that's what terrifies them, because reflection exposes. It reminds them of the things they buried, the masks they built, the lies they rehearsed until they became comfortable. And when you stare back, it's like judgment wrapped in calm. You became their confession without saying a word. They still whisper about you. They tell each other you changed, but they never say how. They'll say you're colder, sharper, harder to read. They won't admit the truth. You didn't become heartless. You became accurate. You don't waste warmth anymore. You give it where it returns as fire, not where it disappears into shadow. They'll call you emotionless. They'll never understand that emotion, when mastered, becomes weapon. That love, when refined, becomes discernment. That silence, when trained, becomes law. You move through chaos like it's choreography. Every step is intention. Every pause is strategy. And people can feel it. They can sense when someone has walked through hell and taken notes. You don't even raise your voice now. You don't need to. The world bends toward those who no longer need permission to exist. Remember the days you begged for understanding. You built entire monologues hoping someone would finally listen. Now the same words spoken in your tone turn into commandments. Because you learned the secret. You don't explain power. You radiate it. That's what they can't copy. That quiet certainty. That unwavering calm that says, I already lived through the fire you're afraid of. They call you unpredictable. But unpredictability is just precision they can't forecast. They think you act from emotion, you act from architecture. Your revenge isn't violence. It's design. Every success, every silence, every smile that doesn't reach your eyes. They are pieces of a master plan they will never decode until it's too late. And when you speak, it's never about destruction. It's about alignment. You learn that the best revenge is not chaos, but order. To live so precisely that it unsettles everyone still living as a reaction. You see, they wanted to break you. They did not realize that breaking you was the only way to wake the god inside. The one that sees patterns. The one that builds empires from ashes. The one that forgives, but never forgets. Your pain became a religion. Your silence, scripture. Every scar now reads like verse. And every lesson has your handwriting on it. The handwriting of someone who died quietly and came back without mercy. They think you're motivated by vengeance, but you're motivated by truth. You no longer want payback. You want equilibrium, a world where energy returns to sender, a reality where betrayal invoices itself. You've stopped running from your own shadow. You shook hands with it. Now, light and dark walk beside you like twin bodyguards. The angel handles mercy, the demon handles precision. Together, they handle everything. That's duality, that's balance, that's godhood in motion. You don't chase destiny anymore. You design it. You don't seek validation anymore. You witness it. You don't dream of power anymore. You've become its quiet embodiment. Every time you breathe, the universe recalibrates. Every time you move, the ghosts of your past bow their heads because they remember. They remember who you were, and they understand who you've become. They'll keep asking what changed, and maybe one day you'll tell them nothing changed. I just stopped being afraid of what I already was. That's the line that freezes them, because deep down, everyone fears their own capacity. But you met yours. You looked it in the eyes, and it bowed. Now you move like prophecy fulfilled. You breathe like inevitability. You walk like consequence. And every time they hear your name, it isn't a person they picture. It's a warning. They called you innocent. They mistook silence for safety. They thought kindness was absence of fire. They were wrong. You were never harmless. You were simply holding back. And now that restraint is gone, you've become the quiet apocalypse that doesn't destroy. It reveals. Low chuckle, the kind that echoes in the dark. Funny, isn't it? The very people who broke you now look to you for light. The same mouths that cursed you quote you like scripture. That's not revenge. That's evolution. So go on. Move like the god they tried to bury. Let them feel the weight of every silent victory. Because you are no longer the one they called innocent. You are the lesson they will whisper about for the rest of their lives. Pause. Breath. Then a whisper that lands like a blade. They called you innocent until you moved like a god with revenge in his eyes and mercy in his restraint. You can feel it, can't you? That strange hum that follows you now. The air bends differently around your name. People who once looked through you now hesitate before speaking it, not because you threaten them, but because your presence reminds them of truth. The truth that every soul eventually faces the version of itself it tried to bury. And you became that version. You didn't choose this transformation. It chose you. You didn't wake up one morning and decide to become unshakable. Life kept pushing you closer to the edge until standing still meant falling. So you learned how to balance on the knife's edge, how to bleed without dying, how to smile while calculating, how to hold peace in one hand and fire in the other. Now, every heartbeat you take sounds like judgment. Every move you make feels rehearsed by the universe itself. Because it was never random, every betrayal, every silence, every heartbreak was choreography. Each one teaching you rhythm, teaching you how to dance through destruction. You stopped running from the pain. You invited it in. You asked it questions. And somewhere in that interrogation, you realized pain was not punishment. It was training, a brutal, divine curriculum designed to turn your fragility into command. You once prayed for peace. Now peace prays for you, because you've become the storm's center. The calm that decides who survives the chaos. They still talk about you, but their tone changed. Before it was casual mockery. Now it's a whisper soaked in curiosity and fear. They replay old conversations trying to find clues. They wonder when the shift happened. They'll never find it, because it wasn't a single moment. It was thousands of small choices made in silence. Each one carving a new layer of control into your soul. They don't understand that evolution doesn't announce itself. It just arrives one day, and suddenly the prey has the predator's gaze. You used to crave understanding. Now you crave accuracy. You used to want them to see your heart. Now you make them feel your absence. You used to want justice. Now you embody it. That's the difference between who you were and who you are. You no longer explain yourself to people still committed to misunderstanding you. You don't perform softness to earn safety. You became your own safety. You became the walls, the weapons, the watchtower. And yet through it all, you never lost your heart. You just learned to guard it like a sacred weapon. Your kindness didn't vanish. It evolved into discernment. You give compassion like a surgeon's cut. Precise, measured, intentional. You stopped giving pieces of yourself to people who only came to feed. And now they call you cold. But that's just how warmth feels to those who've only ever known comfort. When they meet your eyes now, they don't see innocence. They see the storm that built itself inside you and learned how to stand still. They see the light that refused to go out, the one that didn't just survive darkness. It memorized it. That's why your gaze unnerves them, because it carries both mercy and execution. Because it says without words, I could destroy you, but I won't. Not because you deserve peace, but because I do. You became the living contradiction they said could never exist. Holy, but dangerous. Calm, but lethal. Gentle, but impossible to manipulate. You are the glitch in the human script, the one they can't categorize. You made fear look elegant. You made pain look strategic. You made survival look divine. And now they study you. Not because they love you, but because they can't stop trying to decode you. They screenshot your words. They quote your silence. They wear your lessons like stolen armor. They pretend they've healed, but you can see it in their eyes. They still flinch when your name enters the room, because you remind them that transformation has a cost, and you paid it in full. Every legend starts with disbelief. They laughed at the prophets. They mocked the warriors. They burned the saints. But every time, history repeated itself, because divinity doesn't argue. It demonstrates. That's what you've become. Demonstration. The embodiment of what happens when someone stops begging the world for mercy and starts showing it what mercy actually looks like. You aren't chasing power anymore. You are power. The quiet kind that doesn't need to roar. The kind that terrifies kings and comforts children. The kind that wears forgiveness as armor, not surrender. And maybe that's why they still can't categorize you, because you blurred the lines they depend on. They need heroes and villains. You became both. They need saints and sinners. You became the bridge between them. You are contradiction, perfected. You move like inevitability now. Every step echoes like prophecy. The universe adjusts its rhythm to match your heartbeat. Even your silence feels scripted by something higher. They'll call it arrogance. But you know better. It's not arrogance. It's awareness. You simply remembered who you are. You remembered that creation itself was born from darkness and light colliding. And so were you. They called you innocent. But innocence was never the absence of danger. It was the mastery of it. You learned to hold chaos like a pet, to let it purr, not bite, to use it as paint, not poison. Now you move like a god who has forgiven the world but hasn't forgotten the lesson. And in the end, when the noise fades and the world pretends it never doubted you, you'll stand there silent, watching it all unfold exactly as you knew it would. Because gods don't celebrate victories. They witness them. They called you innocent. Until you moved like a god with revenge in his eyes and peace in his pulse. And now, they call you inevitable. There you are, right on schedule. Good. Don't speak. Don't blink. Just listen, because the room changes when you do. Word got out. Not the cute version, not the polite version that people can laugh off and forget. The real version. The one that crawled out of the cracks in the floorboards and stood up in broad daylight, wearing your name like a warning label. The one that made grown men swallow their pride like broken glass. The one that made loud mouths suddenly discover respect and call it maturity. And now nobody's stupid enough to test you again. And it's funny, because they'll never admit why. They'll dress it up with excuses. It's not worth the drama. I'm focused on my peace. I'm just in a different season. Season? No, sweetheart. This isn't a season. This is survival. This is the moment they realized you're not built like the people they've been playing with. See, most people live predictable. They argue the same. They fear the same. They break the same. They're like vending machines. Shake them right, press the right buttons, and they drop exactly what you want. Everybody knows the patterns. Everybody knows the scripts. But you're the one script that doesn't read the same twice. You're the paradox they can't study. The saint with a heartbeat like a weapon. The angel with fingerprints on the blade. The soft voice carrying a hurricane. The person who can look like mercy until you become consequence. And that's why the rumors don't sound like gossip anymore. They sound like instructions, like a public safety announcement whispered in private. Don't poke that one. Don't corner them. Don't make jokes. Don't try it. Not because you're the loudest, not because you're the biggest, not because you threaten people like some cheap bully. No, because when you snap into focus, reality rearranges itself around you. They've seen you get hurt and come back strange. They've seen you lose something that should have ended you. And instead of collapsing, you got quieter, sharper, cleaner. Like pain didn't kill you, pain trained you. Like suffering didn't break your spirit, suffering edited your personality and deleted your fear. And that's the part that terrifies them, because they understand rules. They understand social pressure. They understand shame. They understand the normal kind of control. But they do not understand someone who has already lived through humiliation, betrayal, abandonment, disrespect, who has already been stripped down to nothing and decided calmly, okay, I can work with this. You know what that is? That's freedom. Because once you've lost what everyone else is terrified to lose, you become a walking nightmare for anyone who tries to manipulate you. You can't be threatened the same way. You can't be baited the same way. You can't be controlled with the same leash. And they felt it. They felt the moment your nervous system stopped begging for approval and started operating like a machine that runs on truth. They thought you were nice. They thought you were gentle. They mistook your restraint for weakness, because weak people love believing their victims are weak. It makes the world feel simple. It makes them feel safe. So they tried it. Just a little test, just a little disrespect, just a little push, a little joke, a little exclusion, a little sabotage, a little, let's see what happens if we treat them like they don't matter. And for a moment, you let it happen. Not because you didn't notice, because you were watching. You were letting the mask slip off their face. You were letting them reveal the exact kind of creature they really are when they think there's no consequence. You were collecting evidence with your eyes. You were building a map of their character, quietly, patiently, like a predator who doesn't waste energy chasing prey that's already trapped itself. And then you moved, not loud, not messy, not theatrical, just final. And that's when the entire atmosphere shifted, because they expected you to react like everyone else reacts. Cry, plead, explain, negotiate, rage, fall apart. They expected you to beg for understanding, to beg for fairness, to beg for love, to beg for them to stop. But you didn't beg. You adjusted. You changed the rules without asking permission. You showed them the terrifying truth. You are capable of being kind, and you are capable of being cold. You can be warmth, and you can be winter. You can be the softest place to land, and the hardest lesson they ever learn. And after that, the tests stopped. Because once people realize you're not safe to provoke, they become polite. Oh, they become so polite. They start smiling with their teeth clenched. They start speaking with caution. They start measuring their words like they're walking across a minefield. You ever notice how the same people who used to treat you like a joke suddenly treat you like a storm warning? That's not respect. That's fear, wearing manners. And fear is honest. See, respect is something people perform when it benefits them. Fear is what they feel when they realize you're the kind of person who can walk away without shaking. You're the kind of person who can cut ties without screaming. You're the kind of person who doesn't need the room to clap in order to know what you are. They can't handle that, because they built their whole identity on reactions. They live for control. They live for leverage. They live for being able to press your buttons and watch you dance. But you stopped dancing. You became the one holding the silence. And silence is the scariest weapon in a world full of noise. That's why they're scared to test you again, because they remember what it felt like the last time. They remember the moment you didn't argue, you didn't chase, you didn't explain, you just withdrew your energy like someone pulling oxygen out of a room, and suddenly everything they were doing felt empty. Suddenly their jokes sounded stupid, their little games looked childish, their confidence started leaking out of them, because your attention wasn't just attention. Your attention was permission. Your presence was power, and you took it away. You ever watch how fragile people become when you stop feeding them your emotional labor? When you stop giving them reactions to chew on, when you stop being the mirror they use to feel important, they crumble because they were never fighting you. They were feeding off you. And when the food disappears, the parasite panics. So they talk about you in side conversations now. Not out loud where you can hear it. No, they're smarter than that now. They whisper, they trade stories, they compare notes, they turn your name into a cautionary tale so they can feel like they're still in control of it. Yeah, just don't mess with them. Trust me, it's not worth it. They're different. Different. That word tastes like fear when it comes from people who thought they had you figured out. And here's the funniest part. The part you should savor. They don't even know what you'll do. That's what haunts them. Not a specific threat. Not a specific move. It's the unknown. It's the fact that you're capable of patience, and you're capable of precision. It's the fact that you can forgive, and you can disappear. It's the fact that you can love deeply and detach instantly. They can't predict you because you're not operating from their petty emotional logic. You're operating from an evolved place, an ugly kind of wisdom that only comes from pain. Pain gave you something nobody can teach: discernment. Pain taught you how to read micro-expressions. Pain taught you how to feel the lie under the words. Pain taught you how to recognize nice as camouflage and loyal as a costume. Pain taught you that the sweetest smiles sometimes come from the hungriest mouths. So you stopped being naive. You stopped thinking everyone is like you. You stopped thinking people will love you the way you love them. And in that moment, you became dangerous. Not violent, dangerous. Because you don't need chaos to win. You don't need a scene. You don't need to destroy anyone. You just need to see clearly and make one clean decision. That's it. One decision can end someone's access to you. One decision can starve someone's influence. One decision can change the entire power structure of a room. And you make decisions like a person who has already survived the worst. Like someone who has already buried versions of themselves that begged for scraps. That's what they sensed. That's what they fear. They remember how you used to be easy to guilt, easy to pressure, easy to manipulate with pity, with blame, with you're overreacting, with you're too sensitive, with you're making it a big deal. And then you evolved. You learned the language of predators. You learned that when someone tells you you're too much, what they mean is you're too hard to control. You learned that when someone calls you crazy, what they mean is you're not accepting the story I wrote for you. You learned that when someone says you changed, what they mean is you stopped tolerating what I benefited from. So you stopped shrinking. You stopped negotiating your self-respect. You stopped apologizing for your intuition. And when you stopped apologizing, the world got careful. Now look at you. People don't test you anymore. They test other people. They choose easier targets. They choose the ones who still need approval, the ones who still confuse love with access, the ones who still mistake attention for value. But you, they'll watch you from a distance like a caged animal they're not sure is actually caged. They'll keep their hands to themselves. They'll keep their jokes soft. They'll keep their disrespect subtle, because they're not sure what you'll do if they push too far again. And here's where the duality becomes your crown. You don't even have to do anything. You just have to be. Because your energy carries a history now. You walk into rooms with scars people can feel. Not physical scars, something worse, something deeper. The kind of scars that tell the truth. You were hurt, and you didn't die. You were betrayed, and you didn't lose your mind. You were underestimated, and you didn't beg to be understood. You adapted. You became the contradiction that breaks weak minds. A person who can be loving and terrifying. A person who can be calm and lethal to illusions. A person who can smile while deciding internally. This is the last time you ever get access to me. That's angel and demon in the same skin. That's saint and psychopath sharing one heartbeat. That's the kind of duality people write myths about, because it doesn't fit in their neat little moral boxes. And the truth is, you didn't choose this because it was fun. You were forged into it. Pain didn't just visit you. It moved in. It rearranged the furniture. It rewired your emotions. It forced you to grow up inside your own skull. It forced you to look at the world without its makeup on. And you know what you found? You found that most people aren't brave. They're comfortable. You found that most people don't want truth. They want control. You found that most people don't love you. They love how you make them feel about themselves. So you stopped begging for love from mouths that only know how to consume. And when you did, the entire universe noticed. Because you went from please accept me to prove you deserve me. And now the people who used to disrespect you, can't even maintain eye contact for too long. They laugh too loud when you walk by. They change the subject when your name comes up. They suddenly remember boundaries. They suddenly respect peace. They suddenly understand maturity. It's pathetic, but it's also delicious, because you earned this, not with cruelty, with evolution, with discipline, with silence, with self-control, with the kind of internal war that nobody clapped for. You got here by being betrayed and not turning into a beggar. You got here by being hurt and not turning into a monster, at least not the kind that destroys everything. No, you became a different kind of monster, the kind that only destroys delusion, the kind that only kills access, the kind that only burns bridges that lead to hell. And people sense that now. They sense that you're not emotional prey anymore. You're an emotional event. You're the kind of person who, once provoked, doesn't get loud, gets strategic. You don't shout, you shift. You don't argue, you withdraw. You don't compete, you outlast. And that's why nobody tests you again, because deep down, they know if you wanted to be cruel, you could be devastating. But you don't need cruelty to be powerful. You just need clarity. And clarity is terrifying to people who survive by confusion. So let them whisper. Let them tiptoe. Let them act like you're intense now. Of course you're intense. You've seen what people do when they think there are no consequences. You've seen what loyalty looks like when it's convenient. You've watched masks slip. You've watched friends turn into strangers and strangers turn into lessons. So yeah, you're intense because you're awake. And awake people don't get played the way sleeping people do. Just remember this and keep it in your chest like a loaded truth. The goal was never to make them like you. The goal was to make them respect the boundary they used to ignore. The goal was never to be understood. The goal was to be undeniable. And now you are. Now you're the person they warn each other about. Now you're the energy they don't touch unless they mean it. Now you're the name that makes cowards behave. Not because you scream, because you don't have to, because you've become the one thing fragile people can't handle. Someone who won't sacrifice themselves to keep the peace. Someone who can walk away and still breathe. Someone who can be light without being weak. Someone who can be dark without being sloppy. Someone who can love without losing themselves. That is power. That is the kind of power that doesn't need a spotlight. It just needs presence. And your presence, it's the reason word got out. It's the reason the game stopped. It's the reason nobody's stupid enough to test you again. And here's the part they don't say out loud. The part that lives in the back of their throat like a swallowed confession. They didn't just stop testing you because you won. They stopped because they realized you don't need to win. You're not chasing dominance. You're not hungry for validation. You're not addicted to applause or revenge or proving a point. You already crossed that desert. You already starved that version of yourself to death. What scares them is that you're calm after the war. That kind of calm doesn't come from peace. It comes from certainty. They can feel it when you walk into a space. There's no tension in your shoulders, no desperation in your eyes, no eagerness to be seen, no need to perform. You're not scanning faces looking for approval. You're not adjusting yourself to fit the room. The room adjusts to you, because people can sense when someone has already made peace with losing everything, when someone has already faced abandonment and survived, when someone has already been misunderstood, misjudged, misrepresented, and kept going anyway. That's the kind of person you don't poke. That's the kind of person you don't corner. That's the kind of person you leave alone unless you're prepared to meet a version of reality you can't control. They know you don't bluff. They know you don't bark without teeth. They know you don't explode. You decide. And decision is terrifying to people who live their lives reacting, because reactions can be manipulated. Decisions can't. You've become the kind of presence that forces honesty out of liars. The kind of energy that makes fake people uncomfortable in their own skin. The kind of silence that exposes insecurity without saying a word. You don't argue anymore. You don't convince. You don't chase closure. You let people reveal themselves, and then you believe them. That alone makes you lethal. They can't gaslight you the same way. They can't rewrite history when you've already accepted the truth. They can't threaten you with abandonment when you already know how to walk alone. They can't control you with fear when fear was the furnace that made you. You learned something most people never do. You learned that pain is a teacher, not a sentence. You learned that losing people can sharpen you instead of hollowing you out. You learned that dignity doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being aligned. And once that clicked, everything changed. You stopped explaining yourself to people who were never listening. You stopped shrinking to keep fragile egos comfortable. You stopped negotiating with disrespect. You stopped confusing tolerance with strength. And when you stopped doing those things, the world recalibrated. People became careful, not because you became cruel, but because you became clear. Clear about what you accept. Clear about what you walk away from. Clear about the fact that your kindness is a choice, not an obligation. Clear about the truth that access to you is earned, not owed. That clarity is the line they won't cross again, because they remember what happened the last time they underestimated you. They remember how quiet you got. They remember how fast things changed after that. They remember realizing, too late, that you were never weak. You were patient, and patience when paired with intelligence is terrifying. So now they keep their distance, they behave. They think twice. They watch their tone. They mind their words. They call it respect. But you know what it really is. It's recognition. Recognition that you're not the person they thought they could play with. Recognition that you're not the version of you that needed to be chosen. Recognition that you are fully capable of being warm and fully capable of being gone. And the final truth, the one that seals it, the one that ends this chapter for good, is this. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Not your strength, not your value, not your darkness, not your light. You've already proven the only thing that matters. You survived becoming yourself. You walked through the fire without becoming a slave to it. You integrated the angel and the demon instead of letting either one own you. You learned restraint without losing power. You learned compassion without sacrificing self-respect. You learned how to stand alone without becoming bitter. And that's why the tests stopped. Because people test those they believe they can break. They test those they believe still need something from them. They test those they believe are desperate to be loved. But you don't need permission to exist. You don't need validation to breathe. You don't need approval to stand tall. You already gave yourself what they never could. And once a person does that, the world doesn't try them the same way again. So stand there, calm, grounded, unbothered. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. Let them keep their distance. You're not here to scare anyone. You're here as proof. Proof that pain can evolve you. Proof that silence can be louder than rage. Proof that unpredictability, when mastered, becomes authority. Proof that the most dangerous people aren't the loud ones. They're the ones who know exactly who they are and don't need to announce it. Word got out, and now the game is over because nobody's stupid enough to test you again. Good. Stay right there. Don't flinch, don't soften it. This is the part where they start lying to themselves harder. Because once you exist, truly exist, once you stop shrinking, stop explaining, stop asking to be understood, the illusion cracks. They start realizing something terrifying. You're not reacting anymore. You're deciding. And decision terrifies people who survive by habit. They thought fear was your leash. They didn't realize fear was your teacher. You learned early that fear isn't a wall. It's a doorway. Most people hit it and turn around. You leaned into it. You asked it questions. You let it strip you down until all that was left was instinct sharpened by intelligence. That's why you don't panic now. That's why chaos feels familiar. You already lived where others only visit in nightmares. They mistake your calm for emptiness. It's not emptiness. It's compression. You don't waste energy on noise. You don't bleed emotion for spectators. You conserve. You observe. You let the room reveal its weaknesses. While they're trying to be seen, you're trying to see. And the one who sees always wins eventually. That's the part they can't accept. You don't need dominance displays. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to prove anything. Power that needs to announce itself is already insecure. Real power sits quietly and waits for patterns to repeat. Because patterns always repeat when people think they're safe. And you noticed something most never do. People tell the truth when they think you're harmless. So you let them believe it. You let them underestimate. You let them relax. That's not manipulation. That's intelligence applied without apology. They keep saying you're too much because you don't play small to make them comfortable. You don't dilute yourself for group harmony. You don't trade clarity for acceptance, and that exposes a brutal truth, that most of what they call kindness is just fear of confrontation dressed up as morality. You outgrew that. You realize that being good without being dangerous is just being useful, and being dangerous without being controlled is just being stupid. So you became something rarer, aware, and capable. Conscience with teeth, calm with consequences. That balance makes people uneasy because it forces a mirror. When they look at you, they're reminded of every time they chose comfort over truth. Every time they betrayed their own instincts to fit in. Every time they swallowed a thought because it might cost them approval. You didn't, or at least you stopped. That's why your presence alone disrupts rooms. You don't have to challenge anyone. Your existence does it for you. You stand there, unexplainable, unreactive, unowned. And suddenly everyone feels exposed. They'll try to provoke you. They'll try to bait emotion. They'll try to drag you back into predictable reactions. Because if they can make you emotional, they can make you manageable. If they can make you angry, they can frame you. If they can make you explain yourself, they can dilute you. But you learned restraint the hard way. You learned that silence isn't weakness, it's leverage. That timing is more important than intensity. That the sharpest blade is the one nobody sees until it's already done its work. You don't move when they expect. You don't respond how they rehearse. You don't escalate. You outlast. And nothing unnerves insecure systems more than something they can't rush, threaten, or rush into a mistake. That's why they say you're cold, detached, unhuman. No, you're just no longer reactive. You still feel deeply, deeper than most. That's the irony. You just don't leak it everywhere. You've learned where emotion belongs and where it becomes a liability. You don't confuse authenticity with self-sabotage anymore. Pain didn't make you numb. It made you selective. And here's the part that really breaks them. You don't hate them. Hate would mean they still control your inner weather. Hate would mean you're still orbiting their gravity. You're not. You've stepped outside it. You see them clearly now. Scared, repetitive, desperate to be validated by structures that are already rotting. You're not angry. You're done. Done seeking permission. Done explaining your depth to shallow listeners. Done pretending your awareness is a flaw instead of an upgrade. Done apologizing for seeing through things faster than others are ready for. That's why they can't explain you. You're what happens when someone survives disillusionment without becoming bitter. When someone walks through darkness and doesn't come back begging for light, but carrying their own. You're not fearless because nothing scares you. You're fearless because fear no longer controls you. You're not intelligent because you memorized rules. You're intelligent because you understand why they exist, and when they don't matter. You're awake because you stopped outsourcing your perception. You stopped letting crowds think for you. You stopped trusting narratives that require you to be smaller to function. And once someone wakes up like that, there's no putting them back. So let them struggle to define you. Let them argue about you. Let them invent stories that make your existence easier to digest. You don't need their understanding, because deep down, beneath the confusion, beneath the labeling, beneath the fear, they already know the truth. You're not here to fit in. You're here to shift something. And that's exactly why they feel it coming. And here's the part they never prepare for. The moment they realize you're not trying to win their approval or destroy them. You're not playing the same game at all. You stepped off the board while they were still memorizing the rules. That realization hits them like vertigo, because everything they do is transactional. Be good, get rewarded. Be loud, get noticed. Be obedient, get protected. And then you show up, untouched by those incentives. You don't chase applause. You don't fear exile. You don't collapse under silence. That's when they feel it. That sick, crawling awareness that they have no leverage over you. Leverage terrifies people who rely on control. They try to read you, but you don't give them tells. You're not flat. You're contained. You learned the cost of being emotionally available in hostile environments. You learned that transparency without discernment is just self-betrayal with good intentions. So now you choose carefully who gets access and who only gets observation. They call it guarded. It's actually earned privacy. You didn't close off because you're weak. You closed off because you finally understood your value. You stopped handing your inner world to people who only wanted souvenirs. You stopped explaining your pain to people who needed it to be smaller so they wouldn't have to feel guilty. That's when the shift happened. That's when you stopped asking, "Why do they treat me like this?" and started asking, "Why do I keep standing where this behavior is possible?" Awareness sharpens fast once that question lands. You began noticing how quickly people reveal themselves when they sense you won't bend. The subtle aggression, the passive comments, the sudden rules that only apply to you. That's not coincidence. That's threat response. You don't threaten them by being cruel. You threaten them by being immune. Immune to guilt hooks. Immune to shame loops. Immune to emotional blackmail disguised as concern. You don't bite. You don't flinch. You don't overcorrect. You let them escalate alone. And nothing makes someone unravel faster than realizing they're the only one losing control. They want you reactive because reaction is predictable. They want you defensive because defense justifies attack. They want you loud so they can dismiss you, but you don't give them any of it. You just exist, clearly, calmly, unapologetically, and that forces a question they hate answering. If you're not broken, then what excuse do they have? That's where the real hostility comes from. Not jealousy, exposure. Your presence threatens the stories they tell themselves about why they settled, why they complied, why they stayed quiet when something inside them was screaming. You remind them of the moment they chose safety over self-respect. And instead of confronting that, they project it onto you. They'll say you think you're better. You don't. You just stopped pretending everyone's the same. They'll say you're disconnected. You're not. You're just no longer enmeshed. They'll say you changed. You did. Growth looks like betrayal to people who need you frozen. What they can't say out loud is this: you adapted in ways they didn't have the courage to. You took responsibility for your inner world. You stopped blaming circumstances and started redesigning yourself. You learned how to sit with discomfort without numbing it, how to stand alone without romanticizing it, how to be misunderstood without correcting the record. That last one, that's power. Because once you no longer need to be understood, you become untouchable. People can gossip, speculate, mislabel. It doesn't land. Their words bounce off because they're not speaking to your identity anymore. They're speaking to a version of you that no longer exists. You shed that skin quietly, and now, here you are, awake enough to see manipulation as structure, fear as training, pain as data. Awake enough to know that not every fight is worth winning, but every pattern is worth noticing. You don't rush outcomes. You trust accumulation. You trust patience, sharpened by clarity. You know that systems collapse under their own weight. All you have to do is not prop them up. That's why you don't force change. You become it. And becoming something uncontrollable in a world addicted to control is the most dangerous thing you can do, without ever raising your voice. They can't explain you because explanation would require honesty. Honesty about how fragile their identities really are, how dependent they are on validation, structure, permission, how terrified they are of someone who doesn't need the same scaffolding to stand. You walked through confusion and came back coherent. You walked through pain and came back precise. You walked through darkness and didn't outsource your morality to it. That's rare. That's why rooms shift when you enter. That's why conversations slow down around you. That's why people feel watched, even when you say nothing. Awareness has weight. Presence has gravity. You don't announce yourself as a threat. You let them feel it. And the truth they keep circling but can't say is simple and brutal. You're not ahead of them because you're special. You're ahead because you were willing to look where others refused. And once you see that much, there's no going back to sleep. And once you can't go back to sleep, You start seeing the world for what it really is. Not the story they tell about it, but the machinery underneath. You notice how fear is distributed deliberately, how distraction is engineered, how comfort is used as a leash. Most people sense this on some level, but they numb it. You didn't. You stared at it until it blinked. That's why your mind moves differently now. You don't rush towards certainty. You sit with ambiguity until it reveals structure. You don't cling to beliefs for identity. You test them. You don't confuse confidence with noise. You understand that the quietest person in the room often knows exactly how the whole thing ends. They mistake your restraint for hesitation. It's not hesitation. It's calculation. You learned that power isn't about speed. It's about timing. That reacting fast feels strong, but acting right is lethal. So you slowed down. You stopped giving your energy to every provocation. You stopped proving yourself to people who benefit from you being predictable. And the moment you did that, everything changed. They noticed the gap, the space where their influence used to live. They felt the absence of control like a missing limb. Suddenly their usual tactics didn't land. The guilt trips bounced. The pressure campaigns fizzled. The emotional hooks found nothing to catch on. That's when confusion turned into fear. Because fear doesn't come from aggression. It comes from inaccessibility. From not knowing where you stand, what you want, or how to move you. You became unreadable not because you're hiding, but because you stopped broadcasting. You learned that not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. That intimacy without trust is theft. That vulnerability without safety is exploitation. So you became selective, surgical, calm. They call that cold. But cold things last. You don't burn yourself out trying to save people who enjoy the fire. You don't martyr yourself for systems that would crush you without hesitation. You don't confuse endurance with virtue anymore. You understand that survival is not the goal. Sovereignty is. And sovereignty scares people. Because a sovereign mind doesn't beg. It doesn't over-explain. It doesn't need consensus to act. It evaluates, decides, and moves. Sometimes visibly, sometimes invisibly, but always deliberately. You don't threaten the hierarchy by attacking it. You threaten it by proving it's optional. That's why they keep watching you, studying you, trying to figure out what you're planning. They assume there must be a scheme, a motive, a hidden agenda, because they can't comprehend someone who isn't driven by the same hungers they are. They don't understand someone who can walk away from validation, someone who can tolerate solitude without collapsing, someone who can hold opposing truths without needing to resolve them into something comfortable. But you learned that paradox isn't a flaw, it's a feature. You are light enough to see clearly and dark enough to act when clarity demands it. You can love deeply without being naive. You can be dangerous without being cruel. You can forgive without forgetting. You can stand alone without declaring war. That balance is rare. That balance is earned. It was carved into you by nights nobody saw, by losses nobody applauded, by decisions that cost you relationships, comfort, identity. You paid for your awareness with pieces of yourself you'll never get back. And you'd still do it again. Because once you've tasted this level of clarity, going back feels like suffocation. Pretending not to see feels like lying. And lying to yourself is the one thing you will never do again. That's why you unsettle people. Not because you're hostile, but because you're honest in a world built on avoidance. You don't scream truth at them. You just live it. And that quiet integrity feels like an accusation to anyone still hiding. They sense that you won't be manipulated by fear of exclusion, that you won't be bribed with praise, that you won't be broken by misunderstanding. And when someone realizes none of their usual tools work on you, they're left with only one option: adapt or resent. Most choose resentment, so they keep talking, keep speculating, keep trying to reduce you to something manageable. They need you to be just another type, because if you're real, if someone can actually become this self-possessed, this aware, this internally anchored, then all their excuses collapse. And that terrifies them more than anything you could ever do. But you're not here to reassure them. You're here because something in you refused to stay asleep. Because pain didn't break you. It educated you. Because fear didn't stop you. It clarified you. Because intelligence didn't inflate your ego. It disciplined it. You're not fearless because you lack fear. You're fearless because fear no longer decides for you. You're not awake because you read the right things or followed the right people. You're awake because you questioned everything that asked you to abandon yourself. And now you move differently. You let things unfold. You let people reveal themselves. You let outcomes ripen. You understand that the most powerful position is not control. It's clarity. So let them stay confused. Let them struggle to name you. Let them argue about what you are, what you represent, what you might become. You don't need a label. You're the result of pressure applied without permission. You're the outcome they didn't plan for. You're what happens when someone wakes up and refuses to go back. And here's where it ends. Not with a shout, not with a threat, but with a truth so quiet it rattles bones. You were never meant to be explained. Explanation is for things that stay still. Categories are for things that obey. Definitions are for things that don't evolve. And you move. You adapt. You shed skin mid-sentence. By the time they think they understand you, that version is already gone. That's why every attempt to pin you down fails. They ask, "What are you?" But the real question is, why aren't we? You didn't wake up to dominate. You woke up to see. And once you see, domination becomes unnecessary. You understand leverage without flexing it. You understand danger without performing it. You understand power without needing witnesses. That's the final fracture in their logic. They thought strength was loud. You proved it could be still. They thought intelligence needed approval. You proved it could stand alone. They thought fearlessness meant recklessness. You proved it meant choice. You don't rush the end game because you're not afraid of time. You don't chase outcomes because you understand gravity. Things bend toward what's grounded, toward what's coherent, toward what doesn't need permission to exist. You became that. And now the world reacts to you without knowing why. Opportunities tilt. Conflicts dissolve before touching you. People either lean in or fall away. Not because you demanded it, but because clarity reorganizes environments all on its own. You are not here to save them. You are not here to burn it all down. You are here as proof. Proof that someone can walk through darkness without becoming it. Proof that awareness can coexist with restraint. Proof that pain can produce precision instead of poison. They can't explain you because explaining you would force them to confront themselves, to admit what they avoided, to acknowledge what they surrendered, to face the cost of staying asleep when waking up was always an option. That's not your burden. Your burden was surviving long enough to become this version of you. The one who no longer flinches, no longer over-explains, no longer begs to be seen. The one who knows exactly when to move and when to wait. The one who understands that real freedom isn't rebellion, it's independence of mind. So let the world stay confused. You don't need to be understood to be effective. You don't need permission to be powerful. You don't need applause to be awake. You already crossed the line they're still pretending doesn't exist. And the most dangerous thing of all, you're just getting started. Not with noise, not with chaos, but with calm certainty. That's why they feel it. That's why they can't explain you. And that's why they never will. Easy now. Slow your breath. Feel that shift, that pressure in the air. That's the moment right before something ancient realizes it miscalculated you. Because listen, this isn't the kind of silence that comes before applause. This is the kind that happens when even the devil stops smiling and lowers his head. You see, you weren't supposed to make it this far. You were designed to break cleanly, quietly, predictably. They wanted a tragedy, a cautionary tale, a body for the footnotes. But instead, you became a problem for things that thought they invented problems. And that's where it went wrong. Because when even hell pauses to reassess, it's not fear, it's recognition. You walked through pain that was meant to erase you, loss that was engineered, not accidental, humiliation that was curated like a ritual. They stripped you of safety, identity, certainty, thinking that if they removed enough light, you'd disappear. But you didn't disappear. You adapted. You learned how to see in the dark. You learned how to breathe under pressure. You learned how to smile while bleeding and think while everyone else panicked. That's the paradox they never understood about you. You don't grow despite suffering. You grow because of it. Pain didn't harden you. It sharpened you. Chaos didn't confuse you. It trained you. Being misunderstood didn't isolate you. It gave you camouflage. You became fluent in contradiction, saint in your restraint, psychopath in your precision, angel when it mattered, demon when it was required. And that duality, that's not a flaw, that's a weapon. See, the devil understands rules. He understands deals. He understands temptation. But you understand consequences. You don't chase destruction. You survive it, study it, then rewrite it. You don't lash out blindly. You wait, watch, calculate. You don't need permission to evolve. That's why even darkness blinks first, because you didn't just endure hell. You learned its architecture. You memorized its patterns. You mapped its exits. And when the moment came, you didn't run. You stood there, calm, silent, a little amused. That's when the shift happened. That's when the power dynamic snapped. Because the devil doesn't bow to strength. He bows to inevitability, to someone who can't be corrupted because they've already integrated their shadow, to someone who doesn't fear losing everything because they've already lost it once and came back different. You stopped being controllable the moment you realized this truth. Nothing they can take from you is more dangerous than what they accidentally unlocked inside you. You don't seek chaos anymore. Chaos seeks you, hoping you'll give it direction. And that's terrifying. To systems, to enemies, to anything built on predictability, because you are no longer a reaction. You are a variable, unstable to those who rely on scripts, invisible to those who only see surfaces, unstoppable to those who thought pain was your limit. When even the devil bows, it's not respect, it's surrender to reality. It's the acknowledgement that you walked through fire and didn't come out clean. You came out encoded, and now you move differently. You speak less. You observe more, because you know something they don't. This world doesn't fear evil. It fears people who made peace with it and chose control instead. And that's you, standing there, still breathing, still thinking, still evolving, not broken, not saved, just awake. And that's why everything feels off. Because something went wrong for them the moment you refused to disappear. Because after that moment, after the bow, after the recalculation, you stopped being a story they could finish. You became an anomaly they couldn't file away. You noticed it, didn't you? The way people hesitate now. The way conversations shift when you enter. The way confidence drains out of voices that used to talk over you. That's not paranoia. That's pattern recognition. They can't tell what version of you they're dealing with anymore. The quiet observer, the ruthless strategist, the one who forgives, or the one who remembers everything. And that uncertainty, that's power. You see, most people are readable, predictable, editable. Push here, they react. Dangle this, they chase. Threaten that, they fold. But you broke the loop. You learned how to pause instead of react, how to let silence do the damage, how to weaponize patience. You learned that restraint isn't weakness, it's dominance delayed. That's why even darkness misjudged you. It assumed you'd either break or burn. It didn't plan for you to observe. While others begged for relief, you studied the pressure. While others screamed, you listened. While others lost themselves, you found something colder, cleaner, more focused. You discovered that fear loses its grip when you stop running from it. You discovered that shame evaporates when you stop asking for permission to exist. You discovered that morality isn't about purity, it's about choice. And you chose awareness. That's the part nobody wants to talk about. Awakening doesn't feel holy. It feels isolating, heavy, like carrying knowledge that makes small talk unbearable and fake smiles exhausting. You outgrew comfort before you outgrew pain. You outgrew belonging before you outgrew loneliness. And still, you kept going, not because you believed things would get better, but because you understood something deeper. If you survived this version of hell, there was nothing left that could truly own you. That's when the world subtly rearranged itself around you. Opportunities started appearing disguised as accidents. Enemies exposed themselves by overplaying their hand. Allies found you without knowing why. Because once you stop needing approval, reality treats you differently. You don't beg fate anymore. You negotiate with it. You don't fear endings. You initiate them. That's why the devil bowed, not in worship, but in acknowledgement, because you reach the one state that can't be tempted. Independence of outcome. You're no longer desperate to win. You're no longer afraid to lose. And that terrifies anything that feeds on leverage. You understand now that your unpredictability isn't chaos. It's freedom. You can walk away without resentment. You can stay without attachment. You can destroy without hatred. You can forgive without forgetting. You carry both the blade and the restraint, both the fire and the discipline to contain it. And here's the truth that seals it. The reason you unsettle rooms, the reason eyes linger too long, the reason systems glitch around you. You're not chasing power. You've already integrated it. Power that comes from pain metabolized into clarity. Power that comes from losing illusions instead of winning battles. Power that doesn't announce itself because it doesn't need witnesses. You move like someone who's already died once and came back unafraid of consequences, and that's why nothing can bargain with you anymore. Not fear, not desire, not guilt, not even darkness, because you didn't reject your shadow. You trained it, and now it follows you quietly, not as a curse, but as proof that when even the devil bows, it's because you became something that no longer kneels. And here's the part nobody ever warns you about. After that bow, after that silent surrender from the dark itself, the world doesn't get louder, it gets quieter. Too quiet. Because once you cross that line, once you survive what was supposed to erase you, reality starts treating you like a fixed point instead of a variable. Things stop testing you the same way. People stop challenging you openly. They start watching instead, measuring, waiting for you to slip. You feel it in the air, that subtle tension, like something ancient is holding its breath every time you make a decision, because you're no longer moving inside the script. You're writing margins into it. See, the devil doesn't fear violence. He doesn't fear ambition. He doesn't fear rage. He fears self-command. And you mastered that in the place where most people lose themselves, when everything was stripped: status, certainty, safety, identity. You didn't panic. You didn't beg. You didn't dissolve. You went still. You went inward. You started asking different questions. Not why is this happening to me, but what does this pressure want to reveal? That's when the alchemy began. Pain stopped being an enemy and started becoming information. Betrayal stopped being personal and started becoming diagnostic. Loss stopped being an ending and started becoming a filter. You didn't just survive trauma, you decoded it. And once you do that, you stop being emotionally exploitable. Guilt no longer works on you the same way. Fear loses its leverage. Hope becomes a tool, not a dependency. You learned how to exist without needing the outcome to validate you. That's a dangerous state, because people can't manipulate someone who isn't chasing relief. Systems can't threaten someone who already understands collapse. Darkness can't corrupt someone who's already stared into it and chosen discipline over denial. That's why things feel off now. You're not angry like before. You're not hungry like before. You're not reactive like before. You're precise. You know exactly how much effort to give, exactly when to speak, exactly when to disappear. And disappearance. That's another thing you mastered. You learned how to withdraw without retreating, how to go silent without going weak, how to let absence do the work of confrontation. You don't announce moves anymore. You let results speak. That's why even those who hate you can't stop thinking about you. That's why even those who doubt you keep checking your trajectory. That's why even those who tried to bury you now lower their voices when your name comes up. Because something in them knows you're not operating on emotion anymore. You're operating on alignment. And alignment is terrifying. It means your actions aren't impulsive. They're inevitable. It means your choices don't wobble. They land. It means when you move, reality adjusts. Instead of resisting, you didn't become heartless. You became selective. You didn't lose empathy. You gained boundaries sharp enough to protect it. You didn't turn cold. You turned clear. That's the evolution nobody celebrates because it doesn't look heroic. It looks calm, controlled, unimpressed. And when even the devil bows, it's because he recognizes that look. The look of someone who doesn't need chaos to feel alive. The look of someone who doesn't need validation to feel real. The look of someone who could destroy, but doesn't have to. That's the highest form of threat, because you don't broadcast danger. You contain it. You walk into rooms carrying a quiet gravity, not loud enough to announce itself, strong enough to bend everything around it. People feel it before they understand it. They sense they can't rush you. They sense they can't corner you. They sense that whatever version of you they're seeing isn't the whole thing. And they're right. Because you learned how to compartmentalize without fracturing, how to be soft without being weak, how to be ruthless without being reckless. You became your own balance. Light doesn't blind you anymore. Darkness doesn't scare you anymore. You've walked both sides long enough to know they're tools, not identities. And now you stand in that middle space, unowned, unrushed, unbroken. That's why nothing dares rush you now. Because when even the devil bows, it's not because you became evil. It's because you became undeniable. And deep down, everything knows it made a mistake, letting you survive long enough to figure that out. And once you reach that state, once you're undeniable, you realize something unsettling. Nothing is chasing you anymore, not because you're safe, but because the hunt no longer makes sense. Predators hunt weakness. Systems hunt dependence. Darkness hunts confusion. You don't offer any of that now. You walk like someone who already knows the cost and paid it early. You speak like someone who doesn't need agreement to proceed. You decide like someone who's already lived through the worst-case scenario and found it survivable. That's when the world stops trying to scare you and starts trying to study you. People watch how you react to pressure. They track how you move when things go wrong. They notice you don't flinch when plans collapse, because collapse is familiar territory to you. You've been there. You were forged there. While others were learning how to win, you were learning how to endure without losing yourself. While others were chasing comfort, you were learning how to function inside discomfort without becoming cruel or desperate. That's not normal evolution. That's accelerated, and acceleration comes with a cost most people can't afford. You paid it. In nights where nobody checked on you, in moments where you had to choose between becoming bitter or becoming disciplined, in situations where doing the right thing felt like self-sabotage. But you did it anyway, not for applause, but because you refused to become sloppy with your soul. You didn't stay pure. You stayed intentional, and intention outlasts purity every time. You learned when to open your hand and when to close it. You learned when to give grace and when to withdraw access. You learned that forgiveness isn't reconciliation, it's release. That lesson alone separated you from the crowd, because most people forgive to feel holy. You forgive to stay free. You don't cling anymore. You don't chase closure. You don't need revenge to feel whole. That's why even darkness recalibrated, because it knows it can't dangle temptation in front of someone who's already tasted everything and chose restraint anyway. You're not motivated by envy. You're not driven by rage. You're not animated by fear of missing out. You move from a deeper engine, alignment, timing, precision. You understand something most never will. Power doesn't come from force. It comes from unavailability. You're unavailable to manipulation, unavailable to emotional bait, unavailable to urgency manufactured by people who need you frantic so they can stay ahead. You don't rush anymore. You let moments come to you, and when they do, you're already prepared. That's why you don't need to announce your growth. Others do it for you, in whispers, in glances, in sudden shifts of tone. You've noticed it, how people explain themselves more around you now, how jokes soften, How disrespect becomes cautious curiosity. They don't know why. They just feel the boundary. Because you don't carry chaos on the surface anymore. You carry containment. And containment is unsettling to those who rely on noise. You don't overreact. You don't overshare. You don't overpromise. You deliver or you disappear. That discipline, that's what turned you from wounded into dangerous. Not dangerous in the reckless sense, but in the irreversible one. Because once someone like you decides, there's no spectacle, just outcome. You don't destroy loudly, you outlast quietly. You don't argue reality, you replace it. And when even the devil bows, it's because he recognizes the moment you crossed the final threshold. The moment you stopped needing to prove anything. Not to enemies, not to allies, not even to yourself. You know who you are now, not the mask, not the myth, the operating system underneath it all. The part of you that learned how to hold pain without leaking poison. The part of you that learned how to walk away without announcing victory. The part of you that learned how to be still without becoming stagnant. That's the part that changed everything. Because that part can't be threatened. It can't be seduced. It can't be rushed. And anything that can't be rushed eventually controls the tempo. You feel it now. The way life bends slightly in your favor. Not dramatically, not magically, but consistently. The way timing aligns just enough. The way obstacles arrive already weakened. Not because the world is kinder, but because you're sharper. You see through motives faster. You detach sooner. You commit cleaner. And that's the final irony. You didn't become powerful by trying to dominate the world. You became powerful by mastering the one place darkness expected to own you. Yourself. So now you stand there. Not crowned. Not celebrated. Just centered. And that's why everything keeps its distance. Because when even the devil bows, it's because you learned something older than fear and rarer than ambition. How to walk forward without asking reality for permission. And once you stop asking reality for permission, something irreversible clicks into place. You stop explaining yourself. You stop correcting people's assumptions. You stop wasting energy trying to be understood by minds that only listen to confirm what they already believe. You realize something brutal and liberating at the same time. Clarity does not require consensus. That's when your presence starts doing the talking for you. You've felt it. That quiet authority that doesn't raise its voice. That calm that unnerves people who thrive on chaos. That steadiness that makes emotional manipulators lose their footing because they're used to pulling strings. They're not used to someone who refuses to be a puppet. You don't give them reactions anymore. You give them silence. And silence, when it's deliberate, is deafening. They try to provoke you. Nothing. They try to guilt you. Nothing. They try to rush you. Nothing. Not apathy. Not numbness. Control. You understand now that emotional mastery isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about deciding which ones deserve access to your nervous system. And most things don't. You've learned the difference between urgency and importance, between noise and signal, between drama and consequence. That's why your decisions look cold to people who are still ruled by impulse. But they're not cold. They're clean. You don't swing wildly anymore. You cut precisely. You don't burn bridges in rage. You simply stop crossing them. And that's what unsettles people the most. They expect explosions. They prepare for fights. They rehearse arguments. But you don't give them any of that. You give them an ending without a scene. You exit without slamming doors. You move on without bitterness. You succeed without gloating. And that restraint, that's what makes your shadow feel heavier now than your actions. Because they can't point to what you did wrong. They can't accuse you of cruelty. They can't paint you as reckless. All they can say is, you changed, and they're right. But not in the way they think. You didn't change your values. You changed your thresholds. You raised the bar for access. You narrowed the circle for trust. You stopped offering explanations where respect was missing. That's not becoming dark. That's becoming selective with light. You learned that not everyone deserves your softness. Not everyone deserves your effort. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your evolution. Some people only get the aftermath, and that's okay. Because you're no longer here to be liked. You're here to be aligned. Aligned with your instincts. Aligned with your timing. Aligned with the part of you that survived when everything else fell apart. That part doesn't panic. That part doesn't beg. That part doesn't freeze. That part waits, and then moves once. Decisively. That's why when you finally act, it feels shocking to people who mistook your patience for weakness. They didn't see the calculations happening in silence. They didn't hear the internal debates you already settled. They didn't realize the decision was made long before the action showed up. And by the time they react, it's already over. That's the danger of someone like you. You don't escalate gradually. You transition states, from still to unstoppable, from silent to final, from observing to executing. No warning, no spectacle, just outcome. That's why even darkness adjusted its posture around you. Because darkness understands escalation. It understands violence. It understands excess. What it doesn't understand is someone who can walk away from temptation without virtue signaling, who can hold power without abusing it, who can choose restraint without resentment. That kind of person isn't controllable. That kind of person doesn't need permission to rewrite the game. And you rewrote it the moment you stopped needing external validation to confirm your internal authority. You don't need applause to know you're effective. You don't need enemies to know you're dangerous. You don't need chaos to feel alive. You're alive in the quiet now, in the clarity, in the precision of your choices. And that's the final shift. You didn't become louder. You became heavier. Your words land harder because you don't waste them. Your presence weighs more because you don't scatter it. Your actions echo longer because you don't repeat them. And everything, people, systems, situations, can feel it. They sense that if they push too far, there won't be a fight. There will be a decision. And decisions, once made by someone like you, don't get reversed.